Hi, my name is Samuel Morris and this is Elementary English. Welcome. Today we're going to identify and classify narrative texts using a variety of ways. So the nature of narrative and how to read them, as well as drawing conclusions from a narrative, all revolves around understanding what a narrative is, and it's quite simple. So a narrative is a story. A narrative is essentially ideas and events that all follow a storyline or a plot. This storyline looks kind of like a roller coaster when we map it out, from beginning, middle, to end, and as we have action that's, well, not so much at the beginning, quite a bit towards we get to the middle and end, and it trails off as well. So this story or plot map is going to help us understand narratives, how they're told, and how we can draw conclusions and understand the nature of those narratives a little bit better. To start, there are a few different types of narratives or stories, and you're probably familiar with all of them. The most popular and common type of narrative is a linear or a viewpoint narrative. This narrative is a story that tells itself from a single viewpoint, and it's linear. It goes in a single line from beginning to middle to end. Another type of narrative is, well, non-linear. And you guessed it, non-linear does not go exactly in order. We're going to feature things like flashbacks and maybe dreams or visions into the future. That one's going to be a little bit trickier, but it's still a story that follows that plot map nonetheless. The last type of narrative is the quest narrative. This can be told from a variety of different viewpoints, but they all center around a common quest or goal. And this is very popular in Disney movies and in family-style stories that are traditional and generational as well. So now that we have an understanding of what a narrative is and the plot map in which it follows, let's look at a few examples. And as we look at these examples, I'll ask you, is this a narrative or not? Our first example comes from C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in the Chronicles of Narnia. The first page sounds like this. Once there were 4 children whose names were Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. This story is about something that happened to them when they were sent away from London during the war because of the air raids. They were sent to the house of an old professor who lived in the heart of the country, 10 miles from the nearest railway station and 2 miles from the nearest post office. He had no wife, and he lived in a very large house with a housekeeper called Miss McReady and 3 servants. We're going to pause right there. See, right off the bat, when we read a story like that, well, we know that it's a story or a narrative, right? Something in us reminds us that, well, it sounds like I'm listening to a story. So the first clue of knowing whether something is a narrative or not is your own gut. Does it feel like a story? Most often, you're going to be right. Another tool we can use is that plot map, right? The story map. And in The Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, we get the beginning right away of that plot map. It tells us the characters, what they're doing, where they are, why they're there, in just one single page. So that is a telltale sign that this narrative text is in fact a narrative. Now let's think of another example. Let's say that you get a message that says, "This is your appointment reminder. You're going to see Dr. Flores for your dentist appointment tomorrow at 3 p.m. Text yes to confirm." Does that feel like a story? No. While granted, it's very important information, it's not a story. So it's not a narrative. It doesn't follow the beginning, middle, and end, and the rising action and falling action. It's merely informational, although important information. Now, let's think of a movie that we've seen recently. Just go ahead and think of a movie you've seen in the past 6 months. You're probably thinking of some scenes that have action in them. Maybe not an action movie, but at least one character talking to another. So that is a narrative, because, well, primarily it feels like a story, and also we have that rising action, we have dialogue, we have all of these elements that make a story a story. So for our last example today, I'm going to read the first page of one of my favorite books, and I'm going to ask you whether you think it's a narrative or not. And also, I'm going to ask you to prove it. So as I read this, pay real close attention to the details and how you could prove whether this is a narrative or not. Aguascalientes, Mexico, 1924. "Our land is alive, Esperanza," said Papa, taking her small hand as they walked through the gentle slopes of the vineyard. Leafy green vines draped the arbors and the grapes were ready to drop. Esperanza was 6 years old and loved to walk with her papa through the winding rows, gazing up at him and watching his eyes dance with love for the land. "This whole valley breathes and lives," he said, sweeping his arm towards the distant mountains that guarded them. "It gives us the grapes, and then they welcome us." He gently touched a wild tendril that reached into the row as if it had been waiting to shake his hand. He picked up a handful of earth and studied it. "Did you know that when you lie down on the land, you can feel it breathe? That you can feel its heart beating?" "Papi, I want to feel it," she said. "Come." And they walked to the end of the row. So in that first page, in just that first page, you're pulled into this story. You're pulled into this story that, well, I gave it away. This story, right? It is a narrative because it features characters, dialogue, this rising and falling action. And you have the opportunity to understand and communicate this as well. So today's lesson has been about identifying narratives and stories because it's a really important skill when we're given a text in English class, or we find something online, or we read anything to know whether it's information that we can trust and it's true, or whether it's a story that very well could be true, but oftentimes is for our own entertainment. So as we think about stories and what makes stories stories, I want you to play narrative or not, just like we did today in your own home. So go and find any sort of writing. It could be something that came in the mail, it could be something from a bookshelf or from the basement even. Find any piece of writing and ask yourself, is this a narrative or not, and why? It has been a pleasure having you here this morning to learn about narratives and how to dissect them and identify them among other types of text. Join us next week as we take a deeper dive into narratives, into stories, and look at important story elements like point of view, perspective, theme, and much more. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Samuel Morris, and this has been Elementary English. We'll see you soon.
It's fraction time. I'm Miss Aker. Welcome back to my classroom. We're going to get started with Just Know It, the first part of our lesson. And today we're going to get ready by just knowing our multiplication facts. I have some facts here for you, and I just want you to say it right out loud as soon as you know it. Tell me that answer to the multiplication fact, the product. Here we go. Last one. All right, did you get those? Let's see if you knew them. First one, 3 times 3, 9. Nice job. 6 times 2 equals 12. Excellent. 5 times 3 equals 15. 2 times 4 equals 8. And last but not least, 4 times 4 equals 16. Way to know your multiplication facts just like that. And if you didn't know them just like that, you can practice at home to get your automaticity and your fluency with your math facts down just like that. All right, it's time to move on to figure it out. And today I have a word problem here that we're gonna figure out together. Zaire walks 2/3 of a mile to football practice and 2/3 of a mile back to his house. Practice is on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. How far does he walk in a week? Well, we know read, think, draw, write. So far, so good. Let's underline some important information in this problem. 2/3 of a mile and 2/3 of a mile. So he walks 2/3 there and 2/3 back. Let's keep that in our minds, that visual. Real fractions in the real world, distance. And he has practice Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That's 3 days out of the week he has to practice. How far does he walk in a week? Okay, so I know he has 2/3 plus 2/3, and that's each day he goes, and that equals, if we know we just add the numerator, that is 4/3. But he doesn't just do it one time, he does it 3 times. What should I do? Okay, I'm thinking about multiplication. I could do something with multiplication. I could add it, so we have Tuesday, we have Thursday, and we have Saturday. 4/3 plus 4/3 plus 4/3, and that equals, well, it's 4 3 times, and 4 times 3 is 12, but it's not whole numbers. Oh, it's fractions, so 4/3 3 times, 4, 4, 4, 4, 8, 12. Oh, it's 12/3. He walks 12/3 of a mile. That sounds kind of weird. How would you put 12/3 into a whole number? Oh, I know. It's like putting 12 divided by 3. He walks 4 miles. Wow. That was an interesting figure it out. We took addition and multiplication and we put them together in the same problem. There are lots of different ways to solve this problem. You might have solved it a different way at home. We're to the next part of our lesson, which is what's new. We're going to use some of what we did with Figure It Out to talk about what's new today. I can use models and symbols to multiply fractions by a whole number. Let's break it down. So I can use models. Well, we know we have area or bar models, we have number lines, we have fraction strips. Look at all the models we know. So models are our drawings. And symbols. Let's come back to symbols. To multiply, well, we know multiplication. That has the multiplication sign, and it has factors, and it has products. And multiply fractions, numerator on top, denominator down. Frankie will never leave us. By a whole number. Well, a whole number is not a fraction. It's like 1, 3, 4, 7, all of those are whole numbers. They're not fractional parts. Okay, so we're going to use models and symbols to multiply fractions by a whole number. Well, I think some symbols we could use are multiplication symbol, an equal sign, things like that. Those are symbols. So let's get started on solving some of our what's new problems. for what's new, you always need your piece of paper, your marker board, something to write with like a pen, pencil, or a marker. All right, let's get started. We have some bare numbers today, and we are also going to do some word problems with read, think, draw, write. So let's just practice. So in that problem with Zaire, he was walking 2/3, and we figured out that it was 4/3 each day, and we just multiplied or added together the numerator. So with this one, it's 4 copies of 2/3. So another way of looking at it is 2 times 4 over 3. So we only multiply the numerator and we get 8/3. Or we could think of it as 2/3, the unit fraction of 2/3 is 1/3 times 2, because there's 2 of them, and that times 4. So we know that here is our 2/3, 1/3 is the unit 2 times. I'm going to try putting it like this: 1/3 times 2 times 4. So now I can take 2 times 4, that equals 8, and 8 times 1 equals 8/3. So we end up getting the same thing. 2 different ways of solving, but we're just looking at that numerator and the whole number to multiply. Let's do these. So 4 times 1/3. 4 copies of 1/3 equals 4/3. 7 times 2/5. 7 copies of 2/5. Know your multiplication? Just like that, 14/5. 3 times 5/8. 3 copies of 5/8. 15/8. Nice job with those bare number problems. Let's try a word problem. Asa ran 5 laps around the school track. Each lap is 3/10 of a kilometer. How far did Asa run? Well, read, think, draw, write. All right, so we read it. So we know 5 laps is important, and we know every time he goes around, here's an image to help us. Every time he goes around, that's 3/10 of a kilometer. So one circle around is 3/10 of a kilometer, and they even included the abbreviation. How far did Asa run? So we want to know the total distance. Okay, so we could draw a number line, we could draw a bar model. I'm going to do a number line. So we have 0 and 1 and 2. So I'm going to break this down into 10 parts. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you draw it yourself, it's a little hard to get it perfect. It's good to use number models or number lines that your teacher might have for you to help you get it accurate. So let's jump 3/10 5 times. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 3/10. That's 1 time, 1 lap. 1, 2, 3, 3/10. That's the second lap. 1, 2, 3, 3/10. That's the third lap. He has 2 more laps. 1, 2, 3, 3/10. That's the fourth lap, last lap. 1, 2, 3, 3/10. And that's the fifth lap. So this is where Asa, the total distance would be. So let's figure that out. 3/10, 3/10, 3/10, 3/10, 3/10. So we could add these. We could count 1, 2, 3, or we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can use symbols. So 3/10 times 5 equals 15/10 of a kilometer. So we have, let's double check, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And here was 1, so 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers. 1 and 5/10 kilometers. All right, let's try one more together. This is my favorite kind of fraction problem, one with food, especially brownies. Okay, let's RTDW. Evan cut the pan of brownies into 9 squares. Oh, just like this. I see 9. He served 1 to his twin brother, 1 to his mom, and 1 to his other mom. He ate 1 too. Okay, brownie party. Write a multiplication equation to show the fraction of the brownies the family ate. Okay, so we have to figure out the fraction of the brownies, the total amount of brownies they ate. So you know what? I just need a little visual. So I need Evan. This just helps me. His twin brother, T for twin, mom, and his other mom. Okay, there's 4 of them, and there's 4 brownies that they ate. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, so I'm gonna write a multiplication equation to show the fraction of the brownies they ate. So each of them ate 1/9, because each of these parts is 1/9. So they ate 1/9 of these, and there's 4 of them. We're gonna use that symbol. So 1/9 times 4 equals, and let's just put a B for brownie. B equals brownie. Use a letter there to show our equation. So we remember we multiply the numerator times the whole number, and we get B equals 4/9. They ate 4/9 of it. Can you figure out how many brownies they have left? What fraction of the brownies they have left? Bonus challenge. Let's write a sentence. The family ate 4/9 of the brownies. All right, again, I like to box my answer just so everyone knows, and we got it. And it's time for Try It, where you get to give it a try at home with some problems and challenges I have for you right now. So first, I have some bare number problems. 6 times 4/5 equals something, 3 times 2/10 equals something, and 5 times 3/4 equals something. See if you can figure out those bare number problems. Extra challenge if you can write a word problem to go with these bare numbers. And then I have a special little word problem for you here. A baker uses 3/4 brown sugar for each batch of cookies. How much brown sugar will the baker need for 3 batches? 4 batches? 10 batches. That's a lot of cookies, but sounds delicious. See if you can figure these out and share them with us on our social media platforms. Can't wait to see how you do with that. Oh, that time once again. Today, I want to teach you a new call and response. When I say all set, you at home say you bet. Here we go. All set, you bet. Thanks again for watching.
Hello, I'm Mr. Steinauer, and this is 3rd and 4th grade science. Today, we'll start talking about simple machines. A simple machine is a device that changes the amount of a force or the direction of a force. We'll start by exploring different simple machines around us, and then I'll encourage you to find some simple machines around where you are. All you'll need for today's lesson is a notebook and something to write with. That way you'll be able to keep track of your own thoughts, and you'll be able to write anything down that you might want to remember. Today is an introduction into simple machines. We're going to spend the next couple weeks talking about them in detail. We just really want to get in our head today what a simple machine is and what it does. Again, the definition of a simple machine is a device that changes the amount of a force or the direction of a force. Simple machines help us move from the first floor of the school building to the second floor of the school building. They help us get what we need without having to use a lot of force. And they help us do work throughout our day. Hopefully by the end of our lesson today, you'll have a deeper understanding and appreciation for simple machines and what they do to help us. I'm here at my home school, Whittier Elementary. So let's go outside to the playground, the Whittier playground, and see what we can find out there. So here I am outside of Whittier Elementary. I'm at our playground right now. And why am I here? Well, I'm here because it's full of simple machines. A simple machine is a device that changes the amount of force or the direction of a force. So here right by me, there's a slide, there's a ramp, and there's some stairs there as well. All three of these are a simple machine called an inclined plane. We'll talk more about inclined planes later, but I point them out because they're a great way to see how simple machines can change the direction of a force. Now imagine going up to a cliff and then trying to climb that cliff by yourself. That's going to require a lot more force than if there are some stairs there, or a ramp, or even a slide that we could go down. Even climbing up a slide, while it's a bit difficult, is a lot more fun and a lot easier than climbing something straight up vertically. Here in another part of our playground, we've also got a slide that spins as it goes down. That is a screw. A screw uses a rotational force to also move something down or up. If we think about using a hammer or even just using our hands to put a thumbtack into a wall, that requires a lot more force than if we used a screw. A screwdriver, all we have to do to use that tool is turn our wrist, just like that. It's very easy. We just might have to do it a few more times than if we really pressed and used a lot more force to press something into a wall. The screwdriver uses that rotational force of a screw to much more easily push a screw into the wall. This is another really fun, really great piece of playground equipment. As I push down on this platform, standing or sitting on it, this pivot here then allows the machine to push back on me. This is a simple machine called a lever. Think of a seesaw or a catapult. There's a pivot or a fulcrum around which the lever moves. So as I push down on one side, the other side goes up. Here it's a little more modified. As I push down on here, thanks to the pivot or the fulcrum, it then pushes me back up and allows me to bounce and have a lot of fun while I'm on it. Before you go out on your own and find some simple machines, I'll do that where I am. I'm currently in my classroom. And in my classroom and in a lot of classrooms, probably your own classroom in your main school with your classroom teacher, you'll find some of these objects. They're pretty common in a classroom. The first one is a simple machine. As I push down on it, it pushes back up. That's a lever. This here is the pivot or fulcrum around which it all bends. Now, a staple remover rather, will also pull a staple out. It does that by being a wedge. With these teeth, it goes to the wall, and then as you press down, the teeth go underneath the staple. So by pushing down, they actually separate the staple from the wall. So a wedge, when we push down with a wedge, we're actually splitting two things. So just like with a lever, we push down and it pushes our force back up. A wedge, when we push down, it uses our force to split things. Scissors are another simple machine that we use all the time. Now, just like the staple remover, scissors are actually two simple machines. As I pull out on one part of the scissors and push down, it moves the tip of my scissors. The blades of my scissors move in the opposite direction of my force. That's another lever. We've also got that fulcrum. We'll talk more about levers later, but so far we've seen a lot of them. So the fulcrum or the pivot is the point around which a lever changes the force. And these blades, any good scissor blades, are going to be wedges. As you cut up and down, the scissors split paper or whatever it is you're cutting. So scissors and also staple removers are two simple machines I could find in my space that do two different things. So when I push down, it pushes back up. And when I cut, the scissors split something in two different directions. I understand that at home you might not have a stapler. And if you don't have a stapler, then you probably don't have a staple remover. And you may not have scissors either. You've got plenty of simple machines at home. I know that to be true because simple machines are everywhere. They're even at our door. This is a door handle, but it's also a wheel and axle. As I turn this door handle, inside the door is something called an axle. I turn the door handle and it turns the whole axle so that the door opens. This also works as a wheel. Wheels on a car, wheels on a bike. As we turn a wheel, we're actually turning the axle which connects the wheels. So by turning the door, I'm now able to exit the room or come back in it. All this talk about simple machines is making me thirsty. I'm gonna reach for my water bottle, but I can't escape simple machines. Even a water bottle has a simple machine in it. Where do you see a device that changes the direction of a force or the amount of a force? It's right here at the top of my water bottle, the cap of my water bottle. You may have a water bottle at home, maybe it looks similar or different than mine, but chances are it has a simple machine up at the top. As I twist this water bottle, the water bottle top goes up. As I twist the cap closed, the water bottle cap goes down. So by spinning or rotating, I can go up or down. This is a simple machine called a screw. Where's a place that you have a screw top in your home? See, now you're already thinking about where you can find some simple machines. Oh, I said I was going to take a drink. Well, got a little more than a drink on that. Now, where is somewhere you can go where you push down on something and it pushes back up? What's something you can use that cuts down or goes down and splits something in two parts? How about something that goes forward and down or forward and up? You go forward and the device changes your direction as well. How about something you can turn and it actually turns a whole set of things? Now, the things that are popping in your mind are simple machines. And now it's your turn. At home or in your workplace, identify two simple machines based on them changing the amount of a force, how much force you put on it. Maybe you put a little and it actually uses a lot. Or does it change the direction of a force? Like my water bottle. As I turn, the water cap is actually going up. And as I turn the other way, the water cap goes down. Find two things at home that are simple machines and share them with a loved one. Say to them, this is a simple machine. A simple machine is a device that changes the direction or the amount of a force. And here's what this simple machine does. Now, after you've shared your simple machines with a loved one, be thinking through and try to predict what other simple machines you have at home based on what they do to the forces you use on them. Here next week, we're going to do a deep dive and really explore 3 different simple machines. And then the week after that, we're going to do the same thing with another 3 simple machines. And then we will have talked about all 6 kinds of simple machines. As always, my friends, it has been my pleasure having you in class today. I'm Mr. Steinauer, and I'll see you next week.
Hello and welcome back to PE with Coach K, also known as Physical Education. I am glad to have you back. As you can see, we are outside. It feels wonderful out today, so I hope when you're watching this video that it is nice outside as well. And for this segment, you see in my hand a jump rope. Yes, we are going to learn how to jump rope. Everybody assumes, depending on your age or if you play a sport, that you know how to jump rope. Everybody doesn't know how to jump rope. It takes coordination and it takes a lot of cardiovascular endurance to be able to jump rope. So in this first segment, I am going to teach you a couple of simple steps that helped me in my experience of learning how to jump rope. So first thing I want you to have is a water bottle just handy next to you if you are outside, just so you can stay hydrated throughout this segment. We don't want anybody passing out during this time. So make sure you stay hydrated and have some water next to you. Next, we're going to go through a little warm-up of the body because jumping rope consists of a full body workout. And it is very good for your heart because it's cardiovascular endurance involved. So let's just go ahead. If you have a rope, you can go get your rope. Make sure you have it right next to you. But we're going to warm up first. So if you need to pause the video, get your water bottle, grab your rope, and then we'll get started. So first thing that we're going to warm up is our wrists. And we're warming up our wrists because when we're jumping rope and using the rope, we want to make sure that we use our wrists to turn, not our arms. We don't want to do big circles with our arms. It's all in the wrist. So let's just go ahead, take your wrist, roll it out, going outways, and then you can reverse, going back out, and then reverse. Now I want you to take your arm or your hand, pull your fingers back. You don't want to pull them back too far where it starts to hurt, but you want to pull them back far enough to where you're feeling a stretch in your wrist. Then we're going to do the same thing with the other hand. Pull your fingers back. And make sure you breathe as well. Sometimes we can kind of hold our breath when we're stretching, but you want to make sure that you keep the blood flowing through your body at all times. Now, put your hand down like you're showing somebody your fingernails or a ring, and then pull your fingers back. This will continue to stretch the wrist. Just hold it for a couple of seconds. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Don't pull it back too far. You don't want to hurt yourself. You're just stretching. And go ahead and shake them out. Shake them up. Shake them out to the side. Shake them down low. And hopefully your wrist is warmed up. All right, we're going to stretch our legs out just a little bit before we get started. What I want you to do is I want you to grab your right leg, or you can start with your left. Bring your foot to your bottom. Keep your knee close. So this is what it looks like in the front. Sideways, you want to make sure your knee is close to your leg. Pull it back. We're stretching our quads. Just hold it for a couple of more seconds. And if your foot doesn't go all the way back, it's fine. As long as you feel a stretch in the front part of your leg. Turn to the other side to do your left. Get your foot, bring it behind you. Keep your knee in, don't have your knee out. So as you can see from the front and from the side. Hold it a little longer. And then drop. All right, so give it a good shake. Shake your arms out, your wrists, your legs, your feet. And then we're ready to go. So grab your rope. Grab both ends of the rope. I'm going to go over a couple of basic steps that's going to help us learn how to jump rope. Now with my rope, it's too long for me because I'm short. So adjust the rope the way you need to that helps you. So I'm going to roll it one time around my wrist and then grab. So we're going to start with the rope behind us. So it should be right behind you, dangling at your ankles, the back of your ankles. First thing we want to practice is just using our wrists to turn the rope. So all you're going to do, turn the rope and then catch the rope with your feet. So your toes come up so you can catch it and hold, okay? So we're going to do it 5 times just so we can get used to that motion of rotating our wrists and catching it with our feet. So let's go ahead and start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn, catch, then just step over. That's 1. Turn, catch, step over. Oop, that is 2. Turn and catch, step over. 3. Turn and catch. That is 4. Turn and catch. That is 5. Okay, next step. So first step, just a review, we turned, catch with our feet or with our toes. We just lift them up slightly off the ground just to get used to the rotating of the wrist and catching with the feet. Second step we are going to do is we're going to turn and then simply just step over. So once the rope touches the ground, that's your cue to step over. Okay, we'll do that 5 times as well, just so we can get in the hang of stepping over the rope. So let's go ahead and get ready. Remember, use your wrist, not your full arm. Okay, starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to turn, step over. That's 1. Turn, step over. That is 2. Turn, step over. 3. We have 2 more. Turn, step over. 4, and last one. Make it good. Turn and step over. Easy peasy. Okay, moving on to the next step. Step 3. Instead of stepping over, we're gonna add a little hop because we are jumping rope. So we kind of want to hop a little bit just so we can get the hang of it once we actually learn how to jump rope. So just like in step 2, remember each step will prepare you for the next. So in step 2, we turned and we just stepped over. In step 3, you're going to turn, let the rope hit the ground, and hop over. So from the side, turn, hop over. So the rope should end up behind you when you hop over. So make sure you're hopping over it, not on top of it. So we'll do that 5 times as well. So go ahead and get started. Have the rope in your hands ready to go. Try not to have your hands too far away from your body. Keep them close. Remember, we are using our wrists, not our arms. Okay, are we ready? And we are turning, hopping over, turning, and just hop over. That's 2. Turn, hop over. That's 3. Turn, hop over. That's 4. Last one. Turn and hop over. Okay. Now, if you need to go back to step 1 or step 2 or step 3, you can always go back just to practice a little bit more before you move on to the next one. So as we are moving on to step 4, we're going to actually jump. So we're going to pick our feet up just a little bit higher and our knees up a little bit. So when we do it, rope always starts behind us. If we're going forward, you're going to turn and then jump over. Turn, jump over. Turn and jump over. So instead of hopping over where we're hopping forward, once the rope touches the ground, we're going to jump over. Now you can go slow because we're just practicing before we get started. And jump. Turn and jump. So let's do that 5 times. If you need to take your time or go back to step 1 or 2 or 3, you do what's best for you, okay? So we'll do it 5 times, turning and jumping over. I'll do it sideways so you can see. We're going to start in 5. Get your rope ready. 4, 3, 2, and 1. We turn, let the rope hit, and then jump over. Turn, let the rope. That's 2. Turn, let the rope hit, Jump over, that's 3. Turn, let the rope hit, then jump. That's 4. Last one, we turn, let the rope touch the ground, and then jump over. So when the rope touches the ground, you want to sweep it behind you so the rope ends up behind you and you're not stepping and jumping over the rope. So once again, if you want to do that again, we're turning, let the rope touch, and then jump over. We'll do it one more time. Turn, very slow, let it touch, and jump over. So you can always go back to step 1, step 2, step 3, or step 4. So I hope you enjoyed this 4-step lesson on how to jump rope. But stay active, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Okay, we're right back with another segment today. Today we're going to talk about maintenance on the snare drum. So maintenance on the snare drum is pretty like maintenance on a car. You got to take care of it. There's things that you have to service and there's things you have to take care of. Okay, so we talked about the practice pad the last time. You know, you got your rubber side and you got your hard rubber side. Okay, so we're going to put that away for today. We want to talk about the snare drum. Okay. So the snare drum, it has several pieces that are very, very important. The first thing we want to start with is the top of the head, okay? This is the batter head, okay? This is the top part of the drum that you play on, okay? The bottom part of the drum is a thinner head, okay? This would be called like the emperor head, okay? So you don't play on that head. It's softer. You'll go right through it if you hit it with the sticks, okay? These wires you see here, this is the snares. That's what makes the snare drum get its name. It's from the snares, okay? And also you have lugs. You have a lugs. Lugs here. You have top lugs and bottom lugs, okay? And then you have your lug boxes, which are here, okay? I think it's probably maybe 9 on here for this drum, okay? Drums have different brands, okay? This is, I believe, a Ludwig. Nope, I'm wrong, it's a Tama, okay? So you got several brands of drums that you can get. It just depends on you and what you like. This is a metal drum or stainless steel, if you want to call it. You can get wood, you can get all kinds, birch. The better the wood, the higher the price, okay? So if you want to get something really, really expensive, the sound does make a difference with the wood. If you really got an ear from it, some people like the deep sound, some of them like the bright sound, okay? So, top head, bottom head, lug boxes, lugs, okay? Then we have an on and off switch that throws the snare on and off, and that's the switch here. I can turn it where it's off. I can turn it back on, and it's on. Okay, so this is the on and off switch, okay? On the other side, you have another tension that holds that little plastic piece here, the strap to the snares, okay? Some are straps and some are string. Some are even cloth, okay? That holds that snare in place. So you can actually adjust your on and off switch to how much snare you want, how much snare you don't want, okay? So you can tune the drums, all right? You can tune the drums. The best way to tune the drums, some people go clockwise where you go from here to here. Some people go from side to side where you go there, then there. Okay, it just depends on you. It depends on what you like, okay? But you have to make sure that the tension on the head is even. Make sure it's not uneven, because if it's uneven, you would have a warp head, and the hoop, which is the top part where the holes are in, will warp. Okay, and if the hoop warps, you have to get another hoop. If the head warps with the hoop, you have to replace the head and the hoop. Same thing on the bottom, okay? The bottom head is a little bit tighter than the top head, okay? That's for a reason, because all the sound is bouncing off that bottom and it's coming back. And it's an air hole on the side of the drum where the drum can breathe. And it's right here where you see the brand, okay? Normally that's where they put them. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if you look at the brand here, you see that air hole, okay? And if I played it and you were standing here, you would feel the air coming out of it. That's so that the shell can breathe. Okay? So with the drum key, you could turn the tension rod to your right and you're actually loosening the head. You can hear the loose sound. If I turn it back to my left, it's back tight, okay? So some people want that marching band style type of sound. They'll loosen their heads, okay? They want the corpse sound where they want it really tight where it pops. You would tighten the head, okay? So the snare drum is a very, very important part of the drum set when we get down to the drum set. Now, purchasing a snare drum, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, I would buy a used snare drum. I would go to one of my favorite stores is Explorers. You can go up and talk with West or Lorraine and they'll definitely take care of you on getting a used snare drum. Before I buy a new snare drum, okay? You can check pawn shops, you can check thrift stores. I seen a snare drum at a thrift store this week that was really, really nice. It was a pearl, but I have like 7 snares. I didn't need another, so I didn't buy it, okay? So that's the part of the snare that you need to really pay attention to. Make sure that whenever you take your lugs out of your lug box, that you oil them. And you can oil them with WD-40. That's the best thing to use. Just squirt a little bit and screw it back in, okay? Because you want to keep everything oiled up. This is metal. Metal can rust, okay? So you want to take care of it. You want to make sure that you're wiping your shell off. Even if it's a wood shell, still wipe it off because the drum collects dust just like your furniture, okay? So now we're gonna move to the snare drum stand, or should we say the snare stand. There are several snare stands that you can get, okay? This one has the one with the basket that it can come up and you can tighten it by a little bolt here, okay? You can adjust it by this part. It lets the basket up and down, different heights. And you have your leg screw, where this closes the snare drum, so you can actually travel with it, okay? And you can open it. Sometimes you can open it if you need it to be wider, you can do that also, okay? Again, the same thing, you want to take care of the snare stand, so you want to make sure that it's always clean from gunk, because if you play it a lot, you're going to get oil and stuff on it. It just happens, okay? Again, because this is just like a machine. You have to take care of it. Okay, and with the baskets, you got your snare protectors that protects the snare so that you don't get any dings or bends on the hoop. Same thing with the bottom, you have your leg stoppers. So if you playing on carpet, it'll stay. If you playing on wood, it'll stay. Now, if you ever see someone who's playing and they keep grabbing the bass drum or grabbing the snare drum, and if you look down and they don't have any plastic legs, or if they don't have spikes on the bass drum to keep them stationary, it'll keep moving, okay? And that you don't want to happen. You want to make sure everything is stationary, okay? So now I'm going to talk about stick position. Then we're going to play a little bit, but I want to talk about stick position because I want to make sure that we really, really got it. We kind of touched on it on our last segment, but I want to go a little bit deeper about that, and then we're going to start playing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about stick position. Okay, on the last time we talked about sticks, how to hold the sticks, how I like Vic Firth because of the flag, and the flag is the balance point of the sticks. So we're going to talk about really making sure that we have this down, okay? So when playing the snare, you want to make sure that your hands, this is called match grip. Remember, this is match, that's traditional, okay? Match, traditional. Okay, now something that I did cover the last time, sometimes you have drummers that are left-handed and you might see them try to play like this, okay? Or they may still play this way, but everything is set up to the right side of the kit. Since we right-handed, we play here. Left-handed guys will play this way. The kit will be going this way instead of the way we go, okay? The opposite direction. But back to stick position, making sure that you hold that stick where it can bounce is very important, okay? You want to be able to use the whipping motion, okay? So you can definitely make sure that stick is bouncing, okay? Same thing with the right, okay? And I am holding a stick. What position is this? Right, this is traditional. And this is match, right. Okay, so you want to make sure that we always have the sticks where the index finger and the thumb are the most important parts of holding a stick. The rest of the fingers are just there to actually adjust the stick, okay? Or keep it in balance, I should say, okay? Same thing on the left hand. Same thing if you're playing traditional grip, okay? Everything is coming from these, the index finger and the thumb. That's where all the play is coming from, okay? All the control. When you're playing traditional grip, it's more so your thumb and still the index finger, okay? Because it's really controlling it, okay? And we want to always use the bit of the stick, not the bead of the stick, not the butt of the stick, okay? The butt of the stick will cause a lot of damage, okay? Especially if you're just now starting off and you're really heavy-handed, you can go right through your head very, very quickly, okay? So you want to make sure that you always practice learning both grips. Traditional, match. Make sure we're using the bead of the stick, not the butt of the stick, okay? So I hope this was very helpful for you learning the maintenance of the drum, learning the snare drum parts, and learning also about the snare stand, okay? And we reviewed our stick position, okay? So now that we got all this together, let's play now. This is just a taste of what you're going to get next week, okay? So you don't want to miss the next segment. I'm Mr. Gardner from Southeast High School. I'm the band director. See you next week.